Welcome to the Freight Project podcast, brought to you by Cerasis, a North American third-party logistics company providing shippers transportation management technology and solutions.
On today's The Freight Project podcast episode, Ceresus welcomes Teresa Obinger, the Ceresis Human Resources Manager. Teresa spends a bulk of her time recruiting the top talent in the transportation technology and solutions world, and as you'll hear, a whole lot more. You'll get to learn about how Teresa's rich and diverse professional experience in recruiting, training, management, higher education, sales, real estate, government, writing, and international travels brings excitement and a focus on raising the culture within Ceresis so that our employees are able to provide world-class service to our shipper customers. On this episode, Teresa and I will discuss why culture is very important to the overall success of any company, and why company culture is something that shippers should ask about when looking to hire a transportation management partner like Ceresis. Teresa then shares her tips on how she professionally develops employees and what are some trainings that she feels are important to keep employees current in their industry. And finally, I discuss with Teresa about how the driver shortage contributes to the capacity crunch and how a growing skills gap in manufacturing and the supply chain industries are potentially harming innovation. So therefore, Teresa offers up tips on how carriers and other companies can attract the best talent in order to sustain a profitable operation. We hope you enjoy this episode of the Freight Project Podcast. And it's so great to have Teresa on the Freight Project podcast today. Thank you so much, Teresa, for giving us your time and offering your expertise to our listeners. As you know, our goal is to make sure we educate the marketplace, especially shippers in these trying times during a capacity crunch as much as possible. So we're going to have Ceresis's very own Teresa on today. So Teresa, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do here at Ceresis.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. Well, I am the Human Resources Manager here at Ceresis. Professionally, I've had about 14 years of experience in business and human resources. I worked in a lot of different areas of human resources, recruiting, training, management. I've also worked in higher education, sales, real estate, government, and every one of those types of industries have all geared around either employment or human resources. After college, I did a communications internship in London where I wrote newspaper articles. So writing is a big part for me. I'm very specific and picky with some of my writing. So that's a big part in play when I'm looking over a lot of our future employees and their resumes. But really my passion is employment. It's helping others start in their careers or else be successful in their careers. Currently, I spend most of my weeks recruiting for a lot of our available positions, which is a great thing. That means that our company is growing and we have more positions to fill. And then in the free time when I am not recruiting at Ceresis, I'm onboarding those new employees who start. I'm training and developing some current employees to make sure that they're always challenged and having fun at work. And then just other times problem solving employee-related issues in the workplace. That's really what the Human Resources Department is all about here at Ceresis.
Well, it looks like your experience in life has prepared you well to deal with all kinds of people, very important in HR, and we're really glad to have you. Yeah. You know, we didn't always have a human resources manager here at Ceresis. It says a lot about the industry and the growth of the industry, but the growth of Ceresis as well. You know, and in my time here, what I've kind of seen is not just Ceresis, but the industry at large has really done a lot of maturation, meaning that people are spending more time when it comes to attracting talent, focusing on strategy, those kinds of things. And it's a very fast-paced moving industry. So, you know, what got you attracted to the industry to come work for Ceresis and get into the freight business? Or was it more you saw an opportunity with HR? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, good question. Well, when I came back from my internship, this was probably 15 years ago now, I started as an HR assistant for a corporate retail sports store here in St. Paul, Minnesota. And that was really the beginning of my human resources career. After that position, I left for opportunity in higher education where I did also do human resources for that college, where I trained all of our college students and employees to advance in their careers or else at least get started. A lot of workplace professionalism, just making sure that people knew what it took to get into their careers as far as applying for jobs and interviewing. So HR has always been really something that I focus on in every position that I've held. But then after a while, I decided I wanted to do something different in business. And I went into real estate for a couple years where I was on my own. I was my own employee, and I really liked that time, that flexibility, but really missed being around people and employees and the management side of it. So when Ceresus started becoming so big that they needed to have a human resources department, they had a position, and I had a referral from an employee that is a friend of mine. So networking is a huge plug for that, I'm going to say, to get a job in your industry. And it brought me to Ceresus, where I was able to kind of really start and hear about all the goals of the employee side of things, and then really started from the ground up and hopefully build this human resources department into something that, you know, can benefit every employee for whatever purpose that they want to use my department for. So the new part of this position for me wasn't HR. It was learning that industry related terminology with transportation, shipping, logistics. All of that had been brand new to me when I started here. But it's a fascinating industry. It's a great industry. And I really enjoyed learning as much as I can, which I'm sure there'll be much more to learn, but I think I have a lot of the good basics and the terminology down for now.
That's true. You know, I'm the marketing manager, right? And, you know, I've worked in the industry now for 6 years, but day one, when they said LTL, I said, well, what does that mean? And I'm sure a lot of people looked at maybe you and I kind of sideways going, you don't know what LTL means. So, you know, it is exciting. There's a lot of new terminology. And over the last 6 years, I've definitely grown a passion for it and have been very fortunate to really see that it's less about the jargon and the terminology. And once you get that down, just like with any industry, you know, you start speaking that language with your peers. But, you know, despite all of that, you know, and I'm sure you've experienced too, as I've watched the company grow and as you've been a part and seen other companies grow, you know, culture is pretty important. And I think it's, you know, in a technologically driven world, and as shippers are really being told to adopt as much technology as possible in order to survive and thrive, to decrease cost and increase efficiency, culture becomes pretty important in that parallel path of a technology adoption, because you more than ever are strategic, and it requires you to collaborate around data and strategic goals. And especially as you apply technology or grow as a shipper, or as Ceresis has seen, culture becomes a big part of the overall sustainable success of the company. So why should maybe shippers start asking themselves? And that's maybe something that they should focus on themselves, or is that something they should consider when they're maybe looking for new partners in any business function? Why is culture important here at Ceresis?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think that culture can be really important for employees and their day-to-day job position that they hold within a company. But I do think culture is really important for the customer side as well, because they know what type of company they are working with when they understand Ceres's culture. And so I do think it's beneficial to have a good understanding and appreciation for the culture as an employee and as a customer. Here at Ceresis, really our culture ties into a couple different things. And it's funny that you mentioned that too. The position that I had just filled with an office that we have in Tulsa, the manager had told me, I'm looking for somebody who has a skill set, but also a cultural fit. And for me, I do think that those two are both equally important when it comes to looking for employees, at least on my side, because you want to be able to have somebody who has that good team spirit, but can work independently. And then just a lot of the things that day by day is going to make an employee really happy and excited to be an employee at Ceresis. So part of our culture, we really tie into two things. And one of them is our core values. It's something that we promote. It's all over our screensavers. It's on several offices. We have 4 core values that we promote. And when we hire, we really have a discussion with the employee to decide if that's going to be something that they want to be a part of. One of those core values is being continuous improvement. And that really means with our people and our services. I think that holds true in our culture because our employees are always eager to be the best in their position, or at least they want to be the expert for our customers. They want to be able to have a call with a customer and know and feel that their answer is going to be exactly what the customer wants to hear and needs to hear for that day. So continuous improvement, making sure that our people are always giving that quality work is an important core value here. With professional development, that really ties into that continuous improvement as well, because like you had said earlier, technology is always changing. Employees just need to always stay competitive in the field. And I think it's important for our customers to know that in our culture, we want to be the top company in our industry. We want to set the trends for the future. So I think that a lot of our times our continuous improvement goes a long way in our culture of our employees that we hire and the employees that we have sticking around. And I mentioned that about sticking around because our turnover rate is something that I really look into, and it's very low, which is a great thing for a company to have, which means that employees love to work at Ceresus. They stay for a long time. And you, as a company, you get to work with that same quality employee for several years, and that can be a huge deciding factor to keep the business going with us. And I think that our core values really promote what our employees can give back to our customers.
Yeah, I think that's such an important core value. You know, one of the things they teach in the logistics industry and the supply chain industry are things like Six Sigma, lean manufacturing, lean processes. And a part of that, you know, is learning from what you see, either visually or tactically, and seeing what's broken and fixing it, and using teams to kind of bubble up that information. And the same thing is, you know, with technology. You know, you can use data and analytics, you know, but at the end of the day, companies are going to look at technology from a service provider like Cerasis or any business function that you're looking to improve as a commodity. They're going to say, oh, you don't have technology? We're not even going to talk. And so technology is almost an equalizer, and everybody who gets to be a part of a business buying decision is probably going to offer some technology. But it's in those services and those people that truly make the difference. People still want to do business with people in a highly technologically driven business world. And that's true even more today than ever. And so, you know, we do a program to really continue to keep culture top of mind. It's called the FISH philosophy. So can you talk a little bit about the value of the Cerasis FISH program and how does that help us serve our customers better?
Yeah, the FISH program is something that's been around for a long time. It was implemented in the company, I believe, in 2011. Our president, Steve Ludvigsen, goes to a networking group every month, and he brings back some things that other companies use within their culture. And this was one of them that he really enjoyed hearing about and wanting to instill. So we've brought it into Ceresus, and we have it kind of highlighted throughout the year. The Ceresus FISH philosophy kind of stems from the Seattle fish market, where if you walk around there, if you've ever been there, you see these employees throwing fish around and having a really fun day at work. So it doesn't even feel like they're working, but they're having fun. And then on the other side, the customers or the people coming back there are really having a great day, and they're having a positive experience. And so that's what I think the whole idea is, that we want to make sure whatever our employees are feeling and how they can bring this practice into the workday will ultimately give it out to our customers as well. So some of the FISH philosophies that are there, the 4 are being there, and that's true for your coworker or also your customer if they're on the phone. Play, that's just making sure that you have a fun time at work. Nobody wants to wake up in the morning and not think that today is just going to be another day. I hope that our employees can wake up and think that there's going to be some fun, or they're going to smile, or they're going to laugh, or at least enjoy the day. The other two are make their day and choose your attitude. And I think that really can tie in a lot to our customers as well, because they can hear on the other end, whether it's on a phone call, an email, any type of problem solving. If we have a good attitude about being able to get it done and solve the problem, that ultimately is what is going to make that person's day, which is that last kind of philosophy that Fish promotes. So we try to tie that in throughout the year so that if any of our employees do anything that relates to those 4 philosophies, they can be recognized by their peers or their managers. And then twice a year, we hold basically a 2 or 3 day event where we have all of our new hires come in and do some trainings that kind of revolve around these philosophies. And then we have a nice meet and greet and dinner with employees to be able to mingle and bond over, their training that they've had the last few days. I just think that it ultimately will make our customers happy, even if they don't even know the Fish philosophy, it'll resonate over to them that our employees are kind of embodying all 4 of those, and our customers will feel it on their side too.
Well, that's exciting, to hear that, we're working to keep culture top of mind. And as we said throughout this podcast here, Teresa, it's important for a company to remember that culture is vital in achieving your goals, that people still want to do business with people, that, culture needs to not just be something you state and do once, but that you have to keep working at and do top of mind, just like we do with our Fish program. And that's truly what's going to make your business, be able to thrive in any issue or market force. And I know one of the biggest market forces that shippers are dealing with today, and we hear it all the time if you cover this industry or if you work in it, it's the capacity crunch, and that's being fed by a driver shortage, which is really just a recruitment issue because trucking for so long has sort of had this reputation as hard life, dingy, and dirty. But, carriers are doing everything they can to attract truckers. So, what are some ways that companies can attract the best talent in order to sustain a profitable operation and just get drivers in here so carriers and shippers aren't having such a tough time carrying freight?
That's a really good point. In 14 years of being in human resources, I've seen the job market go up and down, unemployment. There's a lot of different trends. There's a lot of different industries that are affected in different ways. But if you stick to the basics of having the steps in order to get into any industry, they're all going to come down to the same basic principles, which is having that first good impression to make sure that when you're applying for a job, especially at least in Ceresus, the first thing I see is that resume. And if it's a solid resume, error-free, really explaining a lot of the details of skills that you've done in any industry that can maybe relate to a position that you're applying for here, is going to be a great first step. And then you don't have to know the transportation industry to be a success here. You will learn it. But I think you do have to have certain traits, especially in this industry, or else at least for Ceresus' side, of making sure that you're always customer service minded, giving that excellent customer service, being able to look at all the details, because those details make a difference in our shipping needs and for our customers. And then the communication skills, I cannot say enough about. Writing and speaking, communication skills are extremely important, not only just for that interview to make that impression, but also in your job every single day. So I think those types of traits and skills that you have as an employee is going to make you get hireable at any position or in any industry. And hopefully one day it might be Ceresus.
Yeah, that would be exciting. Well, we love people who have, been on the shipper side. A lot of our employees have, that puts them in our customers' shoes quite a bit. So come on down. It's a cool place to work. I like working here. I'm sure Teresa does too.
Yeah.
But, Teresa, thanks so much for your time today. We're loving you being our new HR manager. It's great to have a focus on training just to make us even sharper at our game, on culture, and just to have someone to talk to about, ongoing with our career and how we can develop ourselves. So that's a great resource. I hope our listeners are lucky to have someone like Teresa at their company. But thanks for being on the podcast today, Teresa.
Thanks, Adam.
Well, for all our listeners out there, that's it for today. We'll catch you next time. Have a good one.